Welcome to another post-game media edition of Talking Hoosier Baseball. Today is Saturday, March 11th, 2023. Today, the Indiana Hoosiers clinched the four-game series against the Bellarmine Knights with a 13-3 victory. The Hoosiers were led offensively by graduate student Phillip who went 5 for 6 on the day, and freshman designated hitter Devin Taylor, who got on all 5 times he appeared, including going 4 for 4 with 2 doubles. For the third straight day, freshman pitching was spotlighted, with Ethan Phillips going 3 scoreless in relief. Starter Luke Sinnard got the win with a career-high 10 strikeouts. The media met with head coach Jeff Mercer and Taylor after the game.
So you got a chance for Devin Taylor to get a start today, and he got on base every single time.
Yeah.
What were you seeing from him today? What have you guys been working on?
The big thing with Devin was just he could really hit, and we know that. But the big thing for him was just being able to simplify enough in his kind of his pre-pitch, his load, and being stable with his feet, that he can just be really articulate with the barrel. He had just had overswung and tried to do too much, as young guys do. And we felt like the matchup was really good for him today. The wind was blowing to left center, and with the starter not having – he's a 4-pitch guy, but not having a great changeup. So I felt like everything was going to be moving either straight or into him, and it was just a really good matchup, especially with the wind. And the work that he's been putting in was going to lend itself to being a good matchup. But I talked to him before the game. We hit before in the cages a little bit extra and just said, hey, remember this fall when you were like second on the team in hitting? You're still the same guy. And as a freshman, sometimes it's you're in and you're out, and you have to kind of pick your spots, and you're trying to find good matchups. But you're still the great hitter and the great player that you've always been. Just keep your feet simple and stay on it. And above all, when you swing the bat, you put the ball in the barrel. And just go out and do that today. And man, oh man, did he. He was that was a guy that we've seen, right, at practice and in fall inter-squads and scrimmages. That was the guy that we had seen, and I was just so happy for him. Especially, I've known him since he was in 8th grade. Know his family and mom and dad, his brother, for so long. It's pretty cool to see him transition onto the field and have a wonderful day like that.
A guy like Sinnard has gone on Sunday and then again against Georgetown and today with that Saturday, and has looked really good.
Yeah.
Do you see him? Where do you sort of see him on the weekend, or is that just something that can continuously keep moving?
It's a great question. It's one that we've kicked around a ton. We were talking about it last night again in the locker room afterwards. My wife was probably wondering where I was at, but we were talking for an hour afterwards about what do we do with him. I do know this. The good thing is that he's on our team and that he's going to be on the weekend. He could easily slide to Friday. He could stay where he's at and stay flexible with him. And as the rest of those young pitchers really develop, I think it's going to give us some flexibility. Ethan Phillips today was magnificent. And so as those young guys grow up, I think it's going to give us the flexibility to do some different things. So it's kind of to be determined. But I would say almost certainly in those first 2 days, I know that probably sounds pretty obvious, but in those first 2 days, I just would like to see some of those other guys get 1 or 2 more starts, 1 or 2 more outings under the belt before we move anybody else. And then also just how the profiles match up over a weekend. Do we need, does the guy that ends up taking the next step, does he have a similar profile? And so you want to have like a separator or someone that cleans the deck in between them, so it's not just a really similar look. So a lot of those things could ultimately change, but it's a great question, and I don't necessarily know yet.
Was there some sort of adjustment you had to make after all the hits that Bellarmine got yesterday as far as how you were pitching these guys?
Yeah, they hammer fastballs. I mean, they hammer fastballs. So we've gone to more of sinkers. We started the game yesterday. Obviously on Thursday, they were all over fastballs, and we knew that. But until you see it, I mean, it's abrasive, right? And kudos to them. Their coaching staff is terrific. Those kids can really hit. But it became apparent really early on they could hammer a fastball. So we tried to go yesterday to start the game with Ben, a really heavy off-speed mix, and then with Vega with the changeup and the slider to see if we could spin them. And that obviously did not work. We did not get off to a good start. So kind of the next thing for us was sinkers. We said, okay. And we knew that they were going to be on Sinnard's fastball, and they were. So we went heavy cutter mix, heavy breaking ball. And then after last night's game, when we went to the sinkers early and it worked, we knew with Phillips having the sinker and the four seam that would give us a really good chance, and he could hide it with the changeup. And he was great. It worked, right? So the heavy off speed mix didn't necessarily work, but the sinkers really seemed to give us a little bit of pause on so much of the fastball, the hard contact on fastball. So we're in a really good position tomorrow now on the mound with some of those guys that can come back, but we're going to have to mix and match. I mean, we're going to have to kind of duck and weave a little bit and make sure that we don't have guys that aren't a good matchup against them. And fortunately, Ethan gave us length, Luke gave us length, and then we can get some guys back for tomorrow.
Take two more.
Whitaker's a guy that you've seen a few innings before, but Decker Petty and also Phillips today kind of showing that longevity. Does that change how you manage them moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. And the upperclassmen done a wonderful job of mentoring those young guys. You look at Ben Seiler and Gabe Levy, and those guys are incredible leaders and great mentors. They've done a great job really breathing life into those young guys. And so they're, you kind of work your way through that first cycle. And even when we're coming back home in those first 2 or 3 weeks, we're doing scrimmages on the off day, right? So we're watching ADP throw, we're watching Phillips throw, and some other guys in there. And so they were really good in those 2 outings, and so we knew they were the next guys. I think we kind of talked about it. Hey, there's a couple more freshmen that I really like that are kind of the next guys up. We want to get them in there some innings and just kind of see how their fastballs play against somebody else. Because once your hitters know them, it can be a little bit deceiving on what you get from them on the contact quality. But once we got them out there the other day, and it was like, this is real stuff. Metrically, it's real stuff. The way guys were taking swings, you could tell was they were abrasive to hitters, and so we took our shot. And that's why these weekends like this are really good, where it's kind of hard to play. You're playing 5 games in 5 days, but it forces your hand to get some guys in there, and guys that have stuff. At the end of the day, we talked about last night, but at the end of the day, strikes play, but stuff plays. What really plays is stuff that are strikes. And if you can put those 2 things together, I know it's obvious, but it plays, and they both have stuff and they throw strikes, and it's hard. So, yeah, those guys will have larger and larger roles. I liken it to, I was talking to their coach before the game, and he said, man, I really like your young arms. He said, that 21 class was kind of our first class of position guys on campus, and they played a ton, did a great job. This 22 class is kind of the first class of arms. And I really like him, and over the next couple of weeks, we'll have more of an opportunity to get them bigger roles, and those 2 guys were just, terrific. Game-winning performances the last 2 days, because you're in the 5th inning, and I know we're up by a few runs there, but there was a lot of game left with the wind blowing out to left and that offense on the field. So what Ethan did today was terrific.
Phillip had a very good statistical day, didn't really square the ball up, but managed to get a lot done.
Yeah.
What's your impression of what he was able to do today, despite not really squaring it up?
Yeah, so I told some of the guys afterwards, Phillip has success to the entirety of the field because he has great posture throughout his swing. So he stays over the plate really well. And so there's usually kind of the three steps to how you get pitched. You get pitched fastball away until you establish you can hit it. Then you get spun until you establish you can take it or hit it. Then you get fastballs in. Well, right now, Phillip's on the cycle of fastballs in. So once he hits that and shows he can manage it, then they start back over. They go fastballs away, break them. It's usually how it works. So he's on the cycle of, we're not giving up a double to left center. We're just going to feed you fastballs in. But because he keeps such great posture over the plate, there's nowhere to throw the ball. And so even his misses on the inside of the barrel, I was kind of saying, shot out of the wrong barrel, right? Shot out of the wrong barrel the other way, but his bat's flat. And so you can trademark balls to the opposite field. You'll see Bobby Whalen's the same way. When Bobby has great posture over the plate, he shoots balls the other way, almost like incredibly, how did he hit that ball that way? It's just really determined by his posture. When Bobby stands up, that's when he kind of cuts and flares balls. Glasser's the same way. When he's cutting and flaring balls, because he stands up. So he's super competitive. He's always on fastball timing, and he's not afraid for someone to throw a fastball in, and he trusts his posture and his swing to just trademark the ball the other way and just take his base hit. And that's what a guy at the top of the lineup has to do. And I gave the player of the game to Devin because he was deserved, but you could give the player of the game to Phillip Glasser every single day. and it would be deserved. So he's one of the best players in the country, and we're very fortunate to have him on our team.
So Devin, you're on base 5 times today, kind of looking like what we saw in the fall. Coach said there have been some specific things you've been working on. What's been happening from your perspective?
Really, the main thing is just like approach. Like, let's say before today, I see an inside pitch, I freak out, and then I worked. Like, we've been doing countless hours, countless mornings. Like, I'll come in here early, hit with Coach Mercer, Coach Weatherford, and other guys on the team, and it's like just the work that we put in and seeing that it's actually coming out now. Like, it's a blessing for sure. So, yeah.
You picked up your first doubles of the season today. You pulled into second base on that third hit, did a little dance. What was sort of going through your head at that moment?
I mean, we talked about it before the game. Like, I never played GTA, but I always see like TikToks of like the non-player characters waving, and I thought it would be a funny thing to do, so I for sure had to do that.
With the 2 comeback wins yesterday, you guys jumped out first today, sort of exploded in those first couple innings. Was any sort of message change or any different vibe in the dugout from the previous 2 days?
I mean, well, of course, like, we saw the slow starts, and like us as a team, like, of course Coach Mercer said it, but like we emphasized it onto ourselves to start off hot, and it was just like you saw it today, like the 8-run inning. Like, we made sure to get on that pitcher every chance we got. Like, if he attacks his own, we'll attack him with it. So that's basically our main goal on that. Yeah.
I guess what's your next step? As you're going to continue to to swing the bat. A lot of times, the next piece is if some teams start to get film on you and kind of determine what your weakness is. What are your plans for how you're going to kind of work through the next stages?
I mean, I'm still going to be doing the same thing, still coming in early, still working on the same things, making sure I can strengthen every part of my game, every part of hitting, every part of defense. So even when they have the scouting report and they pitch it somewhere where they think it's my weakness, then they'll for sure pay for it. Yeah.
The Hoosiers go for the sweep, hopefully in the Sunday Reds, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. See you at the BART.